The Sinister Autopsy of Cristiano Araújo. For haunting tales of terrifying secrets revealed, Lily stood frozen at her door, her heart hammering against her chest like a prisoner desperately seeking escape. The air felt thick with tension, the evening shadows creeping along the suburban streets of Oakwood Heights like specters, with whispers of local musician Cristiano Araújo's sudden death echoing in the air. A suffocating fear wrapped itself around her like an invisible noose. The neighborhood, once a haven, now thrummed with unsettling energy, a collective anxiety that made her want to crawl out of her skin. Returning home after another grueling night shift where she had soothed the sick and the dying, she spotted an unmarked package on her porch. It felt wrong, like an omen wrapped in dull brown paper, frayed at the edges. She hesitated, the hairs on the back of her neck standing tall. Ignoring the dread that churned within her, she grabbed it, bringing it inside to the comforting sounds of her children's soft breaths. The silence of the house felt almost mocking, heavy with unspoken worries. But then, a sharp knock shattered the stillness, sending a jolt through her body. Time slowed as she approached the door, peering through the peephole. All she could see was darkness staring back, cold and unyielding. Panic gripped her, squeezing her chest like a vice. Who would be knocking at this hour, especially in their quiet, seemingly perfect neighborhood? Days turned into nights, and a gripping unease settled around her, thickening like fog. The neighbor's eyes felt like predators always watching, always waiting. The usually friendly delivery man shot her wary glances, and even her children's laughter felt tinged with an undercurrent of fear. She felt suffocated by the weight of expectation, the facade of suburban bliss crumbling heavier each day. Every whisper about Cristiano's autopsy seemed to confirm her growing dread. She turned to her phone, fingers shaking as she searched for the truth, and what she uncovered was horrifying. There were whispers of malpractice amongst Oakwood's elite doctors. Trusting them felt like a betrayal, and she couldn't help but wonder how many of her neighbors had secrets as dark as night. Then, while scanning through community bulletins, a photograph caught her breath. A smiling neighbor, someone she once thought harmless, stood grinning next to Cristiano Araújo. Panic washed over her like ice water. This wasn't just gossip. It was a harbinger of something sinister lurking just beneath the surface of their idyllic lives. She bolted home, heart racing, as her instincts screamed at her to keep her children safe. Locking the doors, she clutched her kids tightly, whispering soothing words even as the world outside felt menacing. The phone rang. A chill snaked down her spine as a voice slithered through the line, familiar yet twisted. "You should really know what goes on when the lights are out. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The darkness outside loomed larger, casting sinister shadows, and she felt a tightening knot in her stomach. How well can you really know your neighbors? In the waning light, fear nestled itself closer, and with every tick of the clock, she realized the monsters weren't lurking in the dark. They were right there, within the very walls she thought were her sanctuary. As clattering wind rattled the windows, she was left gripping her children, heart racing. The bitter taste of truth on her tongue, what secrets were hidden in the smiles around her? The phone fell silent, the echo of that warped voice hanging in the air like a dense fog, suffocating in its intensity. Lily's heart thudded in rhythm with the silence, echoing through the empty spaces of her home. A fortress now turned prison. What was she supposed to know? The weight of unknowing clawed at her mind as she felt trapped, biting at her fingernails. Skin crawling with a sense of danger prowling just beyond her walls. Tremors ran through her as she stole another glance out the window, heart sinking at the sight of darkened houses, their shutters drawn tight like curtains in a theater before a tragedy. She gritted her teeth. She had to stay vigilant. Cradling both children close, she listened, every sound a potential harbinger of doom: the rustling of a tree branch, the whisper of wind against the siding, all morphing into a cacophony that rose to a fever pitch. Suddenly, the light flickered. She flinched, an instinctive yelp escaping her lips. The bulb hummed uncertainly before plunging the room into darkness. Panic surged within her as she scrambled to locate her phone, the screen illuminating just enough to see her children's wide, frightened eyes staring back at her. "It's okay," she murmured, though uncertainty tightened her throat. Her mind spun, plagued by thoughts. Who could have made that call? What were the neighbors hiding? She could almost hear the whispers, the strange conversations tinged with dread. People passing on the street, eyes darting away from hers. What did they know? What were they trying to protect? A sharp rap at the window shattered her racing thoughts. She jumped, nearly dropping her phone. Her heart pounded as she drew closer, peering through the glass. A figure loomed just outside, shrouded in shadow. Composing herself, she inhaled shakily, a prayer slipping through her lips. Who is there? Silence answered, thick and heavy. The figure remained still, almost mocking her dread with its stillness. With a burst of courage, she flicked on the porch light, illuminating the scene. The figure retreated into the darkness, leaving behind only a crumpled piece of paper that danced in the breeze. Gathering every ounce of resolve, Lily opened the door just enough to reach for the note, the cold air biting at her skin. As she unfolded it with trembling hands, words scrawled in a hurried, almost desperate manner poured forth. "They know what happened to Cristiano." Her breath hitched, eyes darting around, roaming the eerie stillness of her neighborhood, as if the trees themselves might bear witness to the truth lurking in their shadows. Who were they? What had happened to Cristiano Araújo? The truth felt elusive, like fog slipping through her fingers. She retreated inside, heart racing again, the walls of her home now feeling like tenuous barricades from the growing tide of uncertainty. She pressed her back against the solid door, gripping the note, each letter like a stain on her sanity. Every moment stretched, and the air grew thick. The uncertainty slithered back in, wrapping around her throat. That familiar voice from the phone seeped back into her consciousness. "You should really know what goes on when the lights are out." Was it just fear speaking? Or was there something real lurking in the shadows, beneath the layers of everyday normality? As she prepared to gather her thoughts and devise a plan, a shout rang out from the street, a mingling of panic and confusion that sent her heart racing anew. She stepped toward the window and gasped. A group of her neighbors, faces twisted in terror. What had they seen? What had been unleashed? Then, an unsettling thought crept into her mind. If the truth was scarier than the shadows, then what were they hiding from her? The lights flickered once more. Just as she turned away from the window, the door behind her creaked open, slow and deliberate. A chill wrapped around her, freezing her in place as a sinister presence whispered, "It's time you knew everything." Lily's breath caught in her throat, the icy tendrils of fear gripping her tighter with each soft creak of the door. She dared not turn around, every instinct screaming at her to run, to escape the suffocating shadows that gathered behind her. But a morbid curiosity, no, a primal need to protect her children anchored her to the spot. "Who is there?" she managed to utter, her voice trembling on the edge of panic. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in, suffocating her in its intimacy as the darkness shifted, alive and thrumming with a menacing energy. The whisper came again, low and slithering, "Turn around, Lily. We need to talk about Cristiano." The name resonated within her like a drumbeat, echoing off the walls of her mind. Cristiano Araújo, the neighbor everyone seemed to avoid, the man whose laughter used to fill the air. He had disappeared without a trace weeks ago. The chill deepened as she thought of the crumpled note she'd clutched like a lifeline. What did those words mean? Who were they? And why did they know? With a surge of desperation, she swung around, ready to confront whoever was creeping in her doorway. The darkness receded just enough for her to see a silhouette materialize, a figure draped in shadows, face obscured, but she could make out a glint of something striking, eyes peering into her very soul. And then, the figure stepped forward, emerging slightly from the shadows. A sense of recognition slammed into her, her mind racing with possibilities. The neighbor, was it Raphael? Raphael? She spat, trying to ground herself. What do you know about Cristiano? Where is he? The man's expression morphed, twisted in a world of fear, as he glanced nervously toward the doorframe. It's not safe to talk here, they're watching. Lily's chest tightened. Who's watching? Panic twisted like a knife in her gut, cutting deeper as she watched Raphael's eyes flicker toward the window, believing the very walls might betray her. The reality of her predicament crashed down. The lurking danger had a name, and it was all around her. They're part of it. They know everything. You have to listen. Cristiano was his voice fell to a whisper as he hesitated, wrestling with the weight of whatever truth he was bound to unveil. A scream erupted from the street, a blood-curdling cry of pure terror. It shattered the stillness, causing her children to bolt to her side, eyes wide and shimmering with fear. Mom, what's happening? They whimpered, burying their faces into her sides, sensing the tension that replaced their safe bubble. Ignoring their fright, Lily pressed for answers, desperate and trembling. What do you mean? What happened to him? Raphael's gaze remained fixed on the window. There's a reason they closed the curtains at night. You have to understand, he saw them. He saw what they do, and now they want you to know. What do they want? The world outside felt like it was teetering on the edge. She couldn't shake the feeling that whatever he was about to say would shatter her world completely. Just then, the lights flickered violently one last time before plunging them into darkness again. Blind panic wrapped around her heart. The children clutched tighter, their fear palpable. A shuffling sound approached them, timid at first but gaining confidence. Lily, Raphael uttered again, his tone low and urgent. The truth is, they're not just the neighbors. They've always been here. Then, the door slammed shut behind him, trapping them in an impenetrable night, the echoes of their vulnerability spilling into an abyss. The children whimpered, and with their soft wails ringing in her ears, a thought struck deeper than the fear itself. Some truths are buried because they're meant to stay hidden. Was she ready to uncover what lay beyond the door? The secrets that tethered them all together? With dread coiling inside her, Lily grappled with her choice. Would she confront the terror lurking within her home or allow the shadows to consume her whole? The answer seemed to hang heavy in the air, thick like the darkness that surrounded them. And, outside, a low whisper echoed, "It's too late, you're already part of this darkness." In that moment she made a choice. She would know the truth whatever it cost her. The air thickened, heavy with dread, as Lily's mind raced. She felt the walls closing in, shadows stretching toward her, almost reaching out to claw. Her heart hammered in her chest, a frantic response to the threat pressing against them. The darkness felt alive, pulsating, as if it thrived on fear. "Mom!" A small voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. It was Finn, clinging to her waist. His big blue eyes were wide, mirroring the terror that twisted in her gut. "Stay close," she whispered, forcing herself to sound calm, as a wave of guilt washed over her. How could she protect them when she felt so helpless? Beside him, little Emma trembled, her tiny hands tightly grasping her stuffed bunny. Lily's attention snapped back to Raphael. His silhouette was almost indistinguishable in the absence of light, but his voice carried a weight that felt insurmountable. "They're always watching, even now. We've stayed blind too long." "What do you mean?" Lily pressed, desperation clawing at her insides. "Who are they?" Raphael inhaled sharply, as if preparing himself for the plunge into a dark revelation. "They're the ones who once lived here before us. The ones who made the choices we never wanted to face. The ones who had their darkness grow." The shadows around them deepened, entangling Lily in an icy grip. She could not reassure her children. They had to know the danger was real. Suddenly, scraping sounds echoed from the hallway, nails against wood, slow, deliberate. It was a sound that gnawed at her resolve, reaching deeper into her mind. Lily's breath hitched. "What is that?" Raphael's face blanched, panic evident in his eyes. "They've come for you, Lily. They want you next." The children pressed against her, sensing a shift in the air. She dared not look away from the door, the malevolent force seeming to grow. With each scratching sound, dread pooled in her stomach. An instinct screamed that whatever was beyond that door wanted more than just to frighten them. "Raphael, we have to get out of here," Lily urged, trying to hold onto her fraying composure. "We can't stay. Going outside isn't safe either. The streets are full of them." His lips trembled, the weight of his knowledge suffocating the air even further. "Cristiano, he tried to warn me before it was too late." "Warn you about what? Tell me." Her voice rose, fueled by urgency and desperation. "What does it matter now if we're dead?" Raphael swallowed hard, desperation etched across his face. He saw what they were capable of. He was taken because he discovered them the truth. "It's worse than you can imagine." Before Lily could respond, a loud crash thundered from the other side of the door, rattling the frame. She felt the fright emanate from her children, their little bodies shaking against her. "Stay back," she shouted, thrusting her arms out protectively. Her heart raced as she watched the door quiver violently. An ominous silence followed, stretching painfully before the next sound, a low, guttural growl that resonated through the walls. Chilling her to the bone, a voice floated into the room, seductive and sinister, dripping with malice. "Lily, we've been waiting for you." She could feel Raphael's presence shifting beside her, both of them paralyzed momentarily in horror. The wall between safety and terror was crumbling, and nowhere felt secure anymore. In a surge of unrelenting urgency, Lily gripped Raphael's arm. "What do we do?" The scratching resumed, louder, now mixed with the murmurs of whispers just outside their approach, relentless. Raphael's answer faded into the cacophony around them, a singular focus crystallizing in Lily's mind. She had to make a stand. She needed a plan, one that didn't end in despair for her children. And in that moment, she turned to the window, scanning the street below. Shadows flitted like phantoms across dim streetlights, shapes darting. She clenched her fists, preparing herself for the risks lurking ahead. "Let us go," she urged, feeling the breath of whatever lay beyond grow closer. The darkness outside personified a pulse beating in rhythm with her heart. It was time to confront whatever was waiting for them. But before they could move, the door burst open, the dark figures spilling into the room with disquieting grace. Her breath caught as they flooded in, their icy gaze claiming her. "Welcome home." Lily, the weight of inevitability swirled around her, suffocating, as she faced the depths of unknown horror. What awaited her and the children, trapped within the feasting shadows, would test the boundaries of her every instinct now. Was she ready to battle the darkness, or would it consume them all? The answer loomed as an echo behind the door, a whisper coiling through the chaos, once unspoken, now unavoidable. "You can't hide from the truth." The shadows morphed into grotesquely familiar shapes as they advanced toward Lily. Their eyes glowed like dying embers, and an icy wind swept through the room, making her bones ache. The oppressive silence shattered with the whispers of many voices, hissing in her ear like venomous serpents. "Welcome home," her instincts screamed at her to run, to grab her children and flee until her legs gave out. But as she pushed back against the instinct, another voice, darker and deeper, resonated around her. "You cannot escape. We have come to claim what is ours. Get away from us," she shouted, placing herself between her children and the encroaching darkness. Finn clung tightly to her leg, Emma's frightful whimpers cutting through the clamor like shards of glass. Raphael's face was pale, the shock etching deep lines into his skin. "They're not here for you, Lily," he said, voice shaking. "They want the truth more than they want you. You mustn't let them." "Truth?" The word felt foreign, heavy on her tongue. What truth? Panic seeped into her flesh, and sweat trickled down her spine. It was all becoming too much. The air, once filled with the scent of home, now reeked of decay. Suddenly, she remembered Cristiano, a fleeting name caught up in Raphael's earlier warning. What had he seen? What had he discovered? The tension in the air morphed into something sharper, more sinister, and the shadows elongated, twisting as if they understood her thoughts. With a guttural shriek, one of the figures lunged forward. It was impossibly fast, its fingers elongated into jagged claws. Lily acted on instinct, grabbing a lamp from a nearby table and swinging it with all her might. The lamp shattered on contact, the clatter of glass echoing through the silence like a scream. It jolted the figure, momentarily halting its advance. But others pushed forward. The frigid malevolence radiated from them, clamping like a vice around her heart. They were closing in, their intentions twisting into something more vile. Lily, Raphael urged, panic lacing his voice. You need to see it, you have to remember. He left clues, they are hidden in the house. Clues? Desperation clawed at her throat. There wasn't time for this cryptic drama. What kind of clues? Things left behind, forgotten memories, and a clawed hand reached for Finn. Time slowed as dread enveloped Lily like a shroud. Without thinking, she snatched Finn up and launched herself toward the back door, praying it would lead them to safety. Emma followed, propelled by fear, her little feet pounding against the floor. Find the basement, Raphael shouted, his voice fiercely urgent, roughened by terror. You must uncover the truth before it's too late. They fled down the darkened hallway, and each footfall echoed like gunshots. The growling grew louder, a chorus of predatory hunger. The house creaked and moaned around them, alive with the weight of secrets. The walls felt like they were constricting, pressing inward, eager to swallow them whole. Finally skidding to the end of the hall, Lily jerked the door open and hurled herself into the room beyond. A musty, damp smell hit her. It was the basement. Darkness enveloped them like a blanket. Mom! Emma cried, tugging on her sleeve as Lily stumbled into the unknown. She pressed hard against Finn's back, fumbling for the light switch. Relief flooded her when the flickering bulb sputtered to life, revealing the space in chaotic disarray. It was cluttered with old boxes, peeling wallpaper, and shadows that twisted at the edges. Her pulse raced as she set Finn down, scanning for anything that would explain Raphael's frantic words. There, a wooden chest, splintered and half open, beckoned to her. With trembling hands, she approached. Maybe inside it lay the keys to the darkness she now faced. But as she reached for the chest, a terrible noise erupted above them, clawing, scratching shrieks of unwilling souls. It was then she realized the shadows weren't just outside. They were inside, too, converging around them with insatiable desire. Lily's breath caught in her throat, fear, threatening to choke her. What was she about to unleash, and could they survive the truth? A sharp thud sounded against the basement door. Mom, they're coming. Finn trembled, voice barely a whisper as the shadows danced wickedly before her. She hesitated, heart pounding wildly. In that suffocating moment, she had to decide. Would she delve into the horror, into Cristiano's secrets, or would she allow the past to consume them all? The door splintered dramatically, showering wood, leaving her pulse racing as she gripped the sides of the chest, praying whatever lay within could save them or lead to their end. She opened it, but what crawled within their fate, intertwined with every secret it held, could only be the beginning of unspeakable terror. As the chest creaked open, a foul stench wafted out, mingling with the moldy air of the basement. Lily recoiled, instinct pushing her back. But the shadows pressed relentlessly against her, clawing at her sanity. In the dim light, something glimmered inside the chest. It wasn't just an object. It was the flickering remnants of lives long extinguished. She sank her hands into the chest, heart racing, trembling with dread and determination. What was she willing to risk to protect her children? Mom, please, Finn whimpered, gripping her leg tighter, as if he could brace against the vile dark together. Ignoring their fear, she pulled out a bundle of tattered photographs, barely holding together under layers of grime. They were ghastly in their familiarity. Images of faces she had long forgotten, friends from years ago, their eyes now hollow, vacated of joy and warmth. Each image echoed their unresolved past, piercing her heart like icy daggers. But one stood out, a man with a cruel smile. Cristiano. What did you do? She muttered, staring into the depths of his smirk. Mom! Emma shrieked, the sound slicing through the abyss. Lily whipped around as the shadows lunged, ripping against the doorframe. Dark tendrils swirled, reaching for her. They emanated despair. Their whispers morphed into anguished wails, a cacophony of souls begging for acknowledgement. "They're here," Finn cried, tears streaming down his cheeks, with urgency racing through her veins. Lily dropped the photographs and rifled deeper into the chest. Among the remnants, she found a rusted key, its surface pocked with age. What door did it unlock? What horrid secret had Cristiano concealed? The world around her began to distort, the basement walls distorted, oozing malevolence. Fear sank into her bones. She had to act quickly. Raphael said there were clues. She shouted, the voices above growing more frantic, their hunger palpable. "We need to find them." Whirling back to the photos, she began to stack them, piecing the fragments of her life. Each face tore at her, demanding to be remembered. Faces of betrayal, abandonment. A familiar pulse of unrest throbbed within her. One photo caught her breath, a gathering at the old oak tree by the house. The tree that seemed alive, gnarled and forbidding. In the background, she could barely make out a shadowy figure. Something twisted and jagged. "Mom, look." Emma's voice trembled as she pointed to the corner of the room. The shadows writhed, growing denser, forming into recognizable shapes that flickered like flames. A low rumble filled the air. The door to the basement, long holding its foundation, finally gave way, splintering into fragments, revealing a bulk of shadow that seemed almost human, looming ominously. They were here for retribution. They wouldn't leave without something. What was it they craved? "Get behind me!" Lily yelled, adrenaline surging as she shielded her children. Heart hammering in her chest, she brandished the key like a weapon, desperate to fight back. Just as the figure stepped into the light, it transformed into the wretched visage of Cristiano. His hollow eyes bore down on her, his voice laced with malevolence. "You opened it, Lily. Now you must face what lies beneath." The basement walls pulsed, the shadows swirling into an angry cyclone around her, their laughter echoing. Time twisted. The past surged forward like an unrelenting tide. Lily felt the cold fingers of despair caressing the back of her neck. "What do you want?" she screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the cacophony. In that instant, the key pulsed in her hand, the shadows swirling faster, drawing her into a vortex of chaos that felt all too familiar. Could uncovering the truth of Cristiano save them, or would it doom them all? The laughter grew louder, seeping into her mind, unraveling her sanity thread by thin thread. In this suffocating dark, she had to choose, and quickly before the shadows separated her from her children forever. As darkness enveloped them entirely, the key glimmered ominously, teasing secrets long buried. Where would it lead? What depths of horror awaited them? Lily's breath quickened, knowing that discovering the truth could open the door to unspeakable terror, or worse yet, could reveal a darkness that entwined them all. Would she dare to venture deeper into the abyss to save her family, or would something terrible slither forth from the shadows? Lily's heart pounded like a war drum, drowning out the sinister whispers that clawed at her sanity. The shadows twisted closer, alive with hunger. Cristiano's mocking grin loomed in her mind, a specter that mocked her resolve. With every fleeting moment, the air thickened around her, a warning of the impending doom. "Mom, I'm scared," Finn choked out, grabbing onto her waist as if it could keep the terrors at bay. Emma hid behind her, her face pale and wide-eyed. They were innocent, swept into a nightmarish tapestry of their mother's past, and it was all because of her reckless curiosity. The key pulsated, a heartbeat against her palm, urging her toward remnants of a life better left buried. "What did you unleash?" Lily breathed, panic etched across her face. The basement warped, darkness pooling at her feet, tendrils creeping upward like fingers eager to entrap. "I have to find out," she shouted, half to herself, half to the oppressive shadows suffocating her will. To fight back, she needed answers. With a sudden, frantic resolve, she scanned the room, searching for anything to unlock the mystery. The key had to mean something. The photographs lay strewn about her, faces that bore witness to unspoken horrors. One face made her skin crawl. Cristiano, and with him memories buried deep. His betrayal, his secrets. Could he have started this nightmare? Then she caught it, a faint shimmer beneath a pile of dust and memories. It was a diary, the leather cracked and faded, the letters almost indecipherable. She snatched it up, tearing it away from the shadow's grasp. In its pages, she could feel history writhe in anticipation. Each word an unspoken threat hanging heavy in the air. The basement quaked as she opened the diary. The walls vibrated with a sinister energy as dark laughter intermingled with the rusted echoes of her pulse. She skimmed through the dried ink, phrases that chilled her heart enough to freeze her soul. House of secrets, blood that binds, and chillingly, the deal with shadows. Lily, Emma's voice pulled her back. She glanced at her daughter, whose eyes were glued to Cristiano, still looming, his form barely held together by the fractured light. Time seemed to stretch, and the shadows lurked like a predator waiting for an opening. "What do you want from us?" Lily yelled, daring the figure to respond. "You know what must be done," Cristiano replied, his voice a snake's hiss. "To silence the past, you have to go deeper than you ever thought possible. Will you let your children suffer the mistake you made?" The shadows surged forward, a tide of darkness. In that moment, Lily understood. He was not merely a figment. He was intertwined with their fate. The deal he spoke of, it was real, born of her past decisions. "No!" she shouted, holding tightly to her children as the shadows clawed at their feet. Her breath caught in her throat as the weight of realization crashed over her. To protect Finn and Emma, she might have to make an impossible choice. "Mom, we can get out of here. We have to run," Emma pleaded, but the darkness roared back, consuming their hope. That a flicker of the kiosk glow caught her eye again. In this battle for survival, what was the cost? What horrors lay waiting behind the door it unlocked? Lily hesitated only a heartbeat before charging at Cristiano. The diary clutched tightly in one hand, the key in the other. "No more!" she screamed, breaking through the shadow's tendrils, slashing fear with furious determination. Suddenly, the shadows shrieked as if echoing her defiance. In that electrifying moment, Lily felt a surge of power, an ancient force stemming from her long-buried guilt and anger. It was not just a confrontation. It was a reckoning. But as the darkness writhed and shrank back, a chilling realization washed over her. She had just awoken something else, something worse. With every breath she took, she felt a presence rising, a force more profound than Cristiano, as if the walls themselves screamed in vengeance. "What have I done?" she murmured, fear gripping her anew. And then a voice, even more thunderous than before, roared through the basement, drowning out the cries of her children. "You dare challenge what has been hidden? Prepare for the price of your transgressions." A sudden, blinding brightness pierced the shadows, a stark contrast to the pure malice that had gathered. What remained of the basement shook violently, the air thick with foreboding. Lily turned to the key, trembling as it pulsed in her hand like a drumbeat of fate. What lay behind the door it had yet to unhinge? Would it hold salvation or doom? The darkness trembled, and the voice rumbled anew, promising torment, cementing her worst fears. "Come, face the truth if you dare." What truth awaited them? And would uncovering it seal their doom? The light flashed like a thunderbolt, engulfing the basement in a blinding radiance that fought against the encroaching shadows. Lily shielded her eyes, heart racing, praying for something, anything she could hold on to. The scream of the darkness echoed around her, fading into a soft whisper as the light sculpted sinister shapes on the walls, a grotesque dance of shadows and reality. "Mom!" Emma's terrified voice cut through her thoughts, pulling her back to the moment. Finn clutched her side, trembling like a leaf in a storm. They needed a way out, and fast. Lily could sense urgency in her bones, as if the air itself was pressed tight with invisible nails, threatening to snap. "What did we just unleash?" she breathed, her voice cracking under the weight of fear. The voice, now a low, menacing rumble filled the space again. You have taken the first step, but beware what lies beyond. Lily felt a current of ice-cold dread wash over her. Was this masking her fate, or was there more? Glancing down, the key lay warm in her palm, still flickering, reckless with anticipation. An ancient artifact, imbued with memories of deepest regret and longing, became her focus. But did she truly want to turn it in the lock? Was she ready for whatever door it opened, knowing she could be sealing her children's fate with it? Lily, over there. Finn's shout redirected her focus. The wall opposite them shimmered, no longer just a simple expanse but warped with dark intent. It seemed to breathe, contracting and expanding like a chest heaving with deep sorrow. Beyond it, she could feel the vibrations of trapped secrets, pulling her closer. Instinctively, she reached toward the wall, her hand trembling with hesitation. The darkness clawing at her ankles lost its grip, as if waiting for her next move. Each second stretched painfully, thick with dread. How could she face what lay behind that barrier? Could the truth offer salvation, or would it unleash greater horrors? "Mom, don't," Emma cried, pulling on Lily's arm, but the grip of curiosity and terror intertwined in a vice around her heart. If she didn't act, would they be forever haunted? She glanced into her children's wide eyes and saw fear, perhaps even betrayal. "I have to know," she whispered as she pressed the key against the surface, the metal catching the light. The room stilled, a heavy breath before the storm, as she turned the key. A low rumble resounded, a heartbeat pulsating life and danger. The door trembled open, revealing a chamber drenched in shadows. Walls dripped with darkness, and the air thickened with whispers. Glimpses of images swirled amidst the abyss screams, faces half hidden in twisted smiles and forgotten lunacy. They all clawed at her psyche, inviting her in while warning her to flee. "Lily, we have to go." Finn shrieked again, but it was already too late. That doorway yawned open like an abyss, eager to consume whatever dared to look within. Steeling herself, she stepped forward. It was a decision weighing heavy in her chest, a gamble with terror. The moment she crossed the threshold, shadows whipped inside, enveloping Finn and Emma. The world twisted, distorting vision, sound echoing eerily. "Hold on to me," she shouted, gripping her children's shoulders as they stepped through the threshold. Coldness crawled over them like 1,000 icy hands, merging the real with the nightmare in a haze of uncertainty. "Make it stop," Emma pleaded, her voice laced with panic. Lily's heart raced as each beat drummed against impending horror. They plunged deeper into a world echoing their fears, separate from the basement they once knew. And then, a figure rose from the chaos, a reflection of Cristiano, twisted and monstrous, garbed in a cloak of shadows. "You thought escaping the past was possible?" he taunted, voice a corrupted symphony. "Now you're bound by a deal even worse than the shadows." The darkness lunged, biting, gnashing, and wrapping around them as uncertainty spiraled out of control. But deep within, a flicker stirred, a voice only she could hear, a whisper that filled her mind with promises of power and danger alike. "Break free. Choose to stand." As the shadows drew closer, an overwhelming sensation surged through her. Would Lily succumb to fear, or seize the darkness as her ally? In that chaotic struggle, she knew something else was stirring, something deep and ominous. What awaited them in this new reality? And would facing Cristiano reveal a truth more painful than the shadows themselves? Lily felt the chill seep into her bones as the figure of Cristiano loomed before them, a grotesque shadow of the man she once loved. His eyes glinted with a malevolence that sent shivers racing down her spine. The air thickened, an eerie silence swallowing her family's cries. "Mom," Emma whimpered, her small frame trembling against Lily's grasp. Finn's grip on her other side was just as tight, but the comfort of their presence felt overshadowed by Cristiano's twisted form. He laughed, a sound that echoed like nails on a chalkboard. "You're in my domain now, dear Lily. Here, your choices have consequences." The shadows curled around them, whispering secrets that twisted like sharp thorns in her ears. Each murmur seemed to scratch at her sanity, urging her to flee yet trapping her in a web of fear. "What kind of dark deal did you make?" She shot back, trying to sound brave, even as her voice trembled. A sly smile crept across Cristiano's features. "Deals we all make them. Some with the living, others with the dead. You should know that by now." He took a slow step forward, shadows licking at his feet. The walls pulsated around them, as if the very structure was breathing in despair. "Mom!" Finn pleaded again, pulling against her as the malevolence pressed in, wrapping heavy tendrils around them. The air felt charged, thick enough to choke on. In that moment of despair, a thought struck her. What if she could use this darkness? What if she could let it in, harness its power, twist its intent? Cristiano seemed to sense her conflict, eyes narrowing. "Ah, now we're getting somewhere. You think you can embrace this? This will consume you. It always does." "Shut up," Lily shouted, her voice igniting with defiance. She could feel the ancient key in her pocket burning against her skin, a threaded connection to power she hadn't yet grasped. As Cristiano stepped closer, shadows surged forth like a tidal wave, reaching hungrily toward her children. Finn screamed, and Emma clutched at her mother, eyes wide and full of terror. "You're too late, Lily. Your children will join the lost." With an unexpected rush of desperation, she pressed the key against her heart, willing the darkness to bend to her will. Visions flooded her mind, images of helplessness, anger, and power coiling like serpents around her instincts. "Embrace it," the whispered voice coaxed. "Don't let them take what's yours." The chamber convulsed, shadows swirling like a storm. Lily fought against the tide of panic rising in her throat. "No, I will not lose them," she screamed, channeling her fear into rage. The shadows halted, hesitating as if catching the scent of her resolve. She felt their cold grip loosening for just a moment, and then, emboldened by that flicker of strength, Lily pulled her children closer. With a roar of defiance, she pushed against the darkness. "Leave us alone." The shadows hesitated, then withdrew slightly as if unsure how to respond to her challenge. Cristiano sneered, taken back, but a flame of frustration ignited within him. "You think you can fight me? This is just the beginning." Suddenly, tendrils of darkness surged back with a vengeance, lancing toward Lily like arrows. She could feel her heart pounding, the weight of her choices heavy in the air. In that terrifying moment, she noticed something at the edges of the room, a flicker of light, almost imperceptible, dancing just beyond the veil of shadows. What if it held the key to their escape? Could she harness her newfound power and reach for that light? Or would she succumb to the darkness, forever trapped in this twisted reality? As the shadows swirled dangerously around them, Lily's heart raced, a storm of fear and determination battling within her. The answers lay just beyond. Would she be strong enough to break free? Or would Cristiano's grip pull them all under? The question loomed like a dark specter as she prepared to make a choice that would change everything. Would the light guide them or leave them more lost than ever? Lily's heart raced as the darkness swirled around them, and uncertainty clawed at her edges. The flicker of light beckoned from the depths of the shadows, a small whisper of hope amidst the chaos. With her children's terrified eyes fixed on her, she felt the weight of their fear anchor her to the moment. "Hold on," she shouted, bracing herself. Cristiano's twisted features contorted further, the shadows curling eagerly around him, drawn to her resolve. "You're playing a dangerous game, Lily," he hissed, his voice dripping with malice. Ignoring him, she focused on that glimmer, her guiding star through the abyss. It took a deep breath, steeling herself against the unending pressure building in her chest. "Let my children go. I won't let you take them." With a surge of emotion, a deep, primal rage boiled within her. The key pulsed in her pocket, its warmth igniting a fire in her veins. She moved closer to the shimmer of light, determined to break the chains that bound them. The shadows lunged, but she wouldn't yield. She had to fight back. "We are not your lost." As the darkness veered toward her, she clenched the key tightly, feeling a connection with her own fierce inner strength. "I choose to turn the tide." In that instant, A powerful wave of energy surged from deep within her, merging with the light that pulsed like a heartbeat, pushing against the shadows. For a fleeting moment, the darkness shrank back, flickering as if in fear of her resolute confidence. "Mom, I'm scared," Finn cried, his little body trembling against her. "I know, baby. Stay with me," she whispered, feeling tears well in her eyes. With her children's safety as her only focus, she reached out toward the light, the warmth of it wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. The shadows wailed in response, a chorus of sorrow twisting through the air. "You cannot escape us," they shouted, their voices overlapping in a menacing chant. But Lily stood firm. She felt her power swell, her love for her kids turning into an unstoppable force. "Watch me," she announced, knowing this was the moment to reclaim their lives. "I will break this cycle." As her voice rose, it resonated through the shadows, shattering their oppressive grip. Light exploded from the center of her heart, shooting forth like beams from the sun. The darkness shrieked, contorting in on itself as the luminescence cut through it, illuminating the chaos. Lily took a step forward, pulling Finn and Emma along, their hands clasped tightly in hers. "Together we choose light over shadow. Together we will prevail." With one final surge, she pushed the key into the heart of the radiance, feeling it turn and unlock the very source of their torment. Suddenly, the light expanded in brilliant waves, overwhelming the shadows and forcing them back. The room around them transformed, walls shifting from darkness to white, glimmering with pure energy. The malevolent laughter faded, leaving a suffocating silence in its place. "This is our reality," Cristiano shrieked, his form flickering desperately. But even his image began to dissolve, a marionette snipped from strings, as the light surged through them, wrapping them up in its protective cocoon. Lily clutched her children, eyes filling with tears of relief as warmth seeped back into her soul. "We did it," she breathed, knowing deep within that they had chosen their destiny. With one last gasping breath, the shadows fell away, leaving behind nothing but whispers on the breeze. The world outside reformed, the basement dissolving into the living room, sunlight streaming through the windows, flooding the space with hope. The neighbors, once shadows themselves, now stood outside curious but alive. The fear that had blanketed Oakwood Heights lifted as reality settled back into place. Finn was still by her side, holding tightly to Emma, and the home they had reclaimed felt bright and comforting. "Mommy!" Emma shouted, bursting with joy, her laughter filling the spaces once haunted by fear. "See? We're safe," Lily replied, pulling her children close, feeling every bit of joy washing over her. All the anguish had brought them to this moment, their reunion full of light once locked away in darkness. As happy chatter filled the streets, Lily knew deep down secrets would always linger in shadows, but it was their courage that would guide them through. They weren't just survivors. They were warriors as they stepped outside to join their neighbors. Life began anew, the sun shining on their faces, the light illuminating the scars while they forged ahead into uncharted territories. This was their moment. Together, they would face whatever could arise. And that was a path ready to be taken. Thank you for being part of this journey. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending, and instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Join the community of true fans who understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.